I refuse to not be first.
Do we do enough? Well, I never shut up about it.
It must have been about 16, 17. We nicked their guilt rings. Right, the bouncer's guilt rings.
This is no good for me. That's the reality. If you want the honest truth, and I see it every day.
We've already started. This is Joe Pugh for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. It's the beginning of Fight Week. Joyce versus Zhang with S-Jams. Shane Watson, how are we, mate?
Very good, mate. How are you getting on?
All good, all good. Well, I say it's the start of Fight Week. We had a Chinese on Monday. We had the launch event yesterday, and now it's the public workout. All good. Just a little run out for Joyce ahead of Saturday night.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very tough fight. Could be the toughest of Joe's career. We'll see what Zhang turns up. But in my eyes, he's an undefeated heavyweight who should be IBF mandatory, who beat Hrgović, and I don't know one single person, probably apart from Hrgovic's team, who disagrees with me. So essentially, we're fighting a proper world level heavyweight this weekend. Because if he had beaten Hrgović and we made the Zhang fight, everyone would be like, oh my God, this is a 50-50 fight. And he did beat Hrgović because everyone knows that. So it should still be seen as the same.
Speaking to a lot of people in the sport throughout the week and last week, it's a toss-up, they're saying, between him and Parker, which is the tougher fight. But in your eyes, Zhang or Parker, which one's tougher for Joe?
I mean, I don't want to be disrespectful to Parker. He's the one that's achieved a lot more. I mean, technically, at this point, he's still achieved more than Joe because he's a ex-world heavyweight champion and he's beaten Andy Ruiz, who is obviously a great fighter. But I think the attributes are different. I think Parker's style is completely made for Joe in the sense of, like, well, what we worked on that training camp anyway, we made it work for Joe. But Zhang's got a different level of power. I think he's the top 3 biggest puncher in the division. Maybe hasn't got the engine of some of the other fighters, but he's got the power, he's got the boxing ability as well. He's an Olympic silver medalist, and a world championship medalist. So this is a guy that's come from serious boxing background, has been boxing his whole life, and has beaten some of the best names in the amateurs as well. So he's a serious fighter, and like I said, he should be undefeated. So who knows? I mean, we'll see on Saturday night, I guess. But if Zhang and Parker fall, I wouldn't make Parker a favourite. So looking at it that way, especially now, I mean, I know that Zhang didn't get given a decision over Hrgović, but if he had it done, which he should have, you would probably make Zhang the favourite against Parker, wouldn't you? So,
in your mind, is this the biggest ever banana skin? Because we know what fights are ahead if he does get past Zhang, but in the same breath, we know how much of a threat Zhang is.
Absolutely, and it shouldn't even be seen as a banana skin. This is my point. It should be seen as a very, very tough world level fight, and at that level, they're all banana skin because they're all very good fighters, and even more so when you've got the WBO interim, which is the golden ticket to a world heavyweight title fight. Everyone's going to be coming for you, and they're going to give you an extra 20 or 30% on fight night. Because listen, if Zhang gets knocked out by Joyce, what fights has he got left at world level? Because he's such a nightmare, no one's going to really want to fight him. He wants to fight a guy that can punch almost as hard as anyone, got great boxing ability, and then lacks the value in return. I mean, it's almost a bit of a risk from our behalf doing it, but we said to the fight fans, we're going to give them great fights, we're going to give them wars, and there's not a long queue to fight Joyce, believe it or not, even though he's got the golden ticket. So, and Zhang, fair play to him, accepted the fight straight away, so I have to give him more credit.
You say there's not a long queue for people wanting to fight Joe, but after AJ's performance against Franklin, he did mention Joyce's name. Do you think Joshua Joyce is a feasible fight for the summer?
Nah, not really. Andy Joshua announced he's not fighting in December.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm expecting that to be a mammoth fight, because if it's not, it's absolutely crazy. But it's a shame with AJ, really. It's always says I was going to fight every 3 months, calls out Joyce, calls out Tyson Fury, calls out everyone else. No intention of making the fight with Joyce. Didn't want to make an offer, not a phone call, nothing. And now he's announced not fighting until December. I don't know if he's injured. If he is injured, fair enough. I don't know. And if he is fighting a monster fight in December in Saudi Arabia, which I would assume he probably is, then fair play to him. But at the end of the day, it ain't going to be Joshua in the summer. You guys got to be realistic. But why can't we make Fury Joyce in the summer? Both for the same network, same promoter. We're not going to be unrealistic with money. Joe's got to get paid well and looked after well. We're not going to be unrealistic. And it's a very easy fight to make. So why can't we make that fight? Who else is Tyson Fury going to fight? Nobody else. So great.
We'll come back to Fury in a minute, but just from a management point of view, why, if AJ's got a mammoth fight in Saudi, why would he not have another fight in between now and then?
Listen, he could be injured. I'm not saying he is, he could be. Or the other thing is, maybe the confidence and belief is today. Maybe he just wants to work on more with his trainer behind closed doors, work on another game plan or whatever. Or maybe they just don't know if they can beat the top level heavyweights. Because he can't get away with fighting another Jermaine Franklin in summer, can he? That's the realistic part of it, yeah? I don't think it's sold as well as maybe other AJ fights had done in the past, that they can't go in against another lesser opponent. I don't know, they're all potential reasons. I'm not saying any of them are true or real, I'm just going off of what I think in my head, but he needs another one or two before ever going into a monster fight with anyone. And I'm just saying that from a guy that knows boxing on the outside. He ain't ready to fight Wilder, he ain't ready to fight Joyce, and he ain't ready to fight Fury. And I'm not being disrespectful, he's an excellent fighter, two-time unified world heavyweight champion. How could you possibly disrespect him? Olympic gold medalist. But I'm just saying right now, the form he's in, he's not got much momentum. I think mentally he's not the most confident or believes in himself, or whose style would suggest so. I wouldn't be going in one of the top 5 right now. And even more so with the inactivity again going into December. What has Anthony Joshua lacked the last few years of his career? Inactivity and momentum. So then you're going to go in, which I assume, into a big fight in December without the same again. I just don't think it's a great idea. Then again, what do I know?
We'll move on to Fury then. As soon as the Usyk-Fury fight collapsed for April, Joe Joyce's name was mentioned on the tip of everyone's tongue. It is probably the biggest fight right now to be made between two Brits, but arguably maybe AJ Fury. But could it happen in the summer?
Yeah, why not? But I don't understand why not. Old Trafford, I know it's a dream of Tyson Fury to fight. They will do it there then. Wembley Stadium, wherever. Like, why not? It's the easiest fight to make. Joe Joyce has more than earned his opportunity. Tyson Fury is saying how he's going to fight him next if this doesn't get made. Well, stick to your word for once and actually do it then. And I respect Tyson Fury so much because I actually looked up to him a lot growing up as a kid. Like, you can't knock what he did against Klitschko and Wilder, but right now he's just tarnishing his reputation. And why should a great like that be getting the response of the public like that? But the reason why, because he's just messing them around. Take the fights against the top guys. That's it. Forget about the money. You're going to get paid ridiculous amounts of money anyway. You're always going to be well looked after. They're your home promoter. Just make the fight, or at least try to, with actually a good intention to actually make the fight. Don't start saying, Joyce is meaningless and stuff. Well, why do you say you want to fight him then? Then who is meaningful? Because you don't seem to want to fight anyone else. So it's just frustrating, really. But hopefully, listen, we trust Frank Warren. He's a great promoter. BT have done great by Joe as well. So hopefully we can get something massive made in the summer.
I know we was talking off camera about some of John Fury's comments he's made to Joe. Do you feel like there's a little bit of disrespect there? Because coming from another top heavyweight, which is Joe Joyce.
John Fury's been completely disrespectful to Joe. I don't know what John Fury's achieved in his boxing career to slag off someone like Joe Joyce, who's an Olympic silver medalist, the most decorated British amateur heavyweight of all time, and yet he wants to slate him. And look what he's done as a pro as well. So I don't know how he can possibly do that. But at the end of the day, Joe Joyce has more than earned his world heavyweight title shot, regardless of what John Fury says. John Fury doesn't think Tyson Fury should fight anyone by the comments he made, because Usyk's just a blown-up middleweight. Anthony Joshua's got no value and had lost twice to Usyk, or 3 times in his career. And what other possible fights could you make then? There's no other fights, is there? And what are you just going to do? Not fight anyone? You're going to fight Chisora for a 4th time? You're going to fight Francis Ngannou in some weird fight? I don't understand it. I just don't know who is meaningful anymore then.
Last one, prediction, Saturday night, Joyce Zhang.
In a tough fight, a couple of close rounds early on, I believe. But I expect Joe to get a KO around 9 or 10.
Shane, thank you very much for being to IFL TV.
Top man, thanks mate.
Need to not be first.
Do we do enough? Well, I never shut up about it.
It must have been about 16, 17. We nicked their guilt rings. Right, the bouncer's guilt ring.
This is no good for me. That's the reality. If you want the honest truth, and I see it every day,